Hi everyone, my name is Andy and welcome to All the Lonely Meeples. On this channel, I share solo playthroughs of various board games, including tutorials on how to play. As always, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button down below. If you missed the other videos of my top 50 favorite board game solo modes, there are links to them in the description below. We've come to the end of my favorite board game solo modes, and I'm very happy that I've shared it with you. To finish this list, let's take a look at my top 10 favorites. Coming at number 10 is SAGRADA, a 1 to 4 player dice rolling and pattern building game designed by Adrian Adamescu and Daryl Andrews and published in 2017 by Floodgate Games. In SAGRADA, you are rolling and drafting dice one at a time in the multiplayer game and placing those dice of different colors into your stained glass tableau. And depending on the card that you enter it into your stained glass board at the beginning of the game, that's going to tell you which numbers to place where and which color dice you're allowed to place. And depending on the difficulty of card, you have more or less options available to you to put anything in those spots. Now in the solo game, you are playing the game as normal, but the neutral player is going to count up all the points on the dice that you give up at the end of every round. So on a 6-sided die from 1 to 6, you're really wanting to give them the lower numbers in the 10 rounds of the game so that you have a better chance of scoring. But it is a fantastic game, and there's a lot of variability with difficulty and the tools that you can use throughout the game to quote unquote cheat in the game, bend the rules, and so it's just a fantastic overall dice rolling game. Coming in at number 9 is EVERDELL, a 1 to 4 player worker placement and set collection game designed by James Wilson and published in 2021 by Starling Games. I love EVERDELL. Is a very beautiful and cute woodland creature game with where you are placing your workers in, I believe, 3 seasons, and you're collecting resources and gaining cards into building your city. And in the solo game, you are playing against Rugwort, your enemy, who there are 3 levels. It just says year 1, year 2, and year 3. And depending on which one you want to play, year 1 is the easy difficulty, year 2 is medium, and year 3 is hard. And so in the booklet, it tells you exactly, you play the game as normal, but it has varying rules. So when you do something, Rugwort will roll a die and do something, or take a space here and there. And so you're just, again, playing the game as normal. Rugwort is very easy to control as the neutral player, and I love that in solo games when the neutral player or the AI the automa is very easy to do their turn. There's not a whole lot of thinking involved. And so that is EVERDELL. Coming in at number 8 is Red Rising, a 1 to 6 player hand management and set collection game designed by Alexander Schmidt and Jamie Stegmaier and published in 2021 by Stonemaier Games. I love Red Rising. It is the only game that I think that I own that is inspired by a book. And so if you haven't read the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown, I highly recommend reading that series. I believe right now there are 5 books in the series, and we're waiting on the 6th one to be released. However, you do not have to read any of the books to know how to play this game or have a better understanding of the cards themselves. This game is made up of a bunch of cards that are simply the characters in the books, major, minor characters, and so what you're doing is you are either taking the lead action or the scout action, and that is just placing cards on one of the 4 factions, or I'm sorry, one of the 4 planets in the game and in the book, and then you're going to take a card from another location and trigger the ability in that location. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to create really good synergy between all the cards in your hands. So every card has some value of points on them in the top left, and they have a trigger ability and a synergy ability at the bottom. So for instance, if there's a white card, a specific person in the game that wants to be with other people in your hand, then throughout the game you're going to be trying to get those people into your hand to create that synergy and boost your points. And it will say, you know, plus 20 points if you have so-and-so card in your hand paired with this one, or negative points if you have any other, you know, this list of cards in your hand. And it's all based on the relationships in the book. Reading the book would, I guess, give a deeper appreciation for the cards and the relationships, but again, you don't have to have read those books. Now the solo version has an automa, and simply they have the deck of cards, and you do your turn as normal. You'll flip one of the cards and it will give you step-by-step instructions, similar to Viticulture, of what you're going to do in that turn for the automa, and that is Red Rising. Coming at number 7 is the Isle of Cats, Explore and Draw, a 1 to 6 player flip and draw game designed by Frank West and published in 2022 by the City of Games. I love the Isle of Cats, especially the Explore and Draw version, because it's simple to set up. I love roll and write, flip and draw games, and it's a really fun game. What you're doing is you have a ship, and you are going to explore an island of cats and try to save as many as you can. So you're going to choose a row or column, most of the time a column of cards, of cat cards, treasures, and you're going to draw them on your boat. And it's a polyomino game, so you are going to start somewhere in your boat, and you're trying to fill rooms and cover up the rats on your boat to score the most points and put your cats in like groupings of colors. And in the solo version, you play against your sister, and she is trying to take credit for the work that you've done. And so every round, she'll have 3 objectives that you can try and stop her from completing because you see them. And then she's going to steal points from you or take credit for different colored cats that you have on your boat, and you flip one of those over every round. So if I don't have any red cats on my boat after round 1, and I flip over her next card, which is a red cat, she might be scoring 4 points for every time I have every red cat I have on my boat. So I want to steer clear of those colors because those are going to give her lots of points. And you can watch my playthrough of the Isle of Cats, as I did that earlier on this channel, and I'll do another playthrough sometime soon. Coming in at number 6 is Roll Player, a 1 to 4 player dice rolling and set collection game designed by Keith Matejka and published in 2016 by Thunderworks Games. I love Roll Player because I'm also a big D&D nerd and player, and this game is all about creating a character sheet, at least the attributes on a character sheet in Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games. And so you have your 6 attributes. You have your strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, and 3 slots for each, and you're rolling dice. You are drafting dice of different colors, and you're creating the character sheet, the attributes of the character board that you placed chose at the beginning of the game, and you're trying to fit the numbers, make the numbers work on the dice to fit the numbers that the character wants. So if you're a dragonkin or a human or an elf, they're going to have specific numbers where they want their attributes to be for you to score maximum points. There's a dice phase, and then there is a market phase where you can spend the coins that you earn from taking gold dice or coins on that are accompanied on the dice that you can select. And you're going to be buying different types of items, maybe some magical items, maybe some armor, some weapons, and those are going to come with special benefits, maybe end-game scoring. And then finally there's a cleanup phase. And in the solo version, it is a solitaire version. You're not actually playing against anyone. There is a ranking at the end of how well you can do, and you're just trying to get, of course, the most points. And when this game is paired with the Monsters and Minions expansion and many of the other ones, you have an extra, you have battles against monsters that you can score points on, and a battle at the very end where you're trying to fight off the big boss at the end to score even more points. And so there's a lot of variability with the expansions in this game. Coming at number 5 is Cascadia, a 1 to 4 player tile placement and pattern building game designed by Randy Flynn and published in 2021 by Flat Out Games. I absolutely love Cascadia. It was the very first video on this channel that when I started it, I wanted to do something that I really loved and could get out very quickly, and so Cascadia was the one. And in Cascadia you have, I believe there's 5 different animals, and there are different scoring cards for each animal, and you are taking a set of tile and token, the animal token, and you're placing them into your tableau, and you're building your wildlife areas, your you've got different terrain types, and you're placing the animals on the tiles that allow that animal to be placed. And so at the end of the game, you're trying to put your animals in such a way that they're going to score based on the scoring cards that you chose at the beginning of the game. And in the solo version, it is a solitaire game. It's played very similarly. You have your open drafting row, and once you draft one set, you're going to discard the farthest set from the stacks, and then shift everything down. And so it moves very, very quickly. It's a nice, thinky puzzle game, and I love that in the back of the Cascadia book, similar to how Calico and other games do it, there are objectives that you can complete and a roadmap for like a campaign. Try to work your way through that. Coming in at number 4 is WINGSPAN, a 1 to 5 player hand management and set collection game designed by Elizabeth Hargrave and published in 2019 by Stonemaier Games. Oh, I love WINGSPAN. It is just a beautiful game of birds, and you have a hand of cards, and you're placing these cards or collecting resources onto your board, and you have 3 different settings that you can place your cards. I believe one's in the grasslands, one's around lakes, and I can't remember what else, but maybe the prairies. And anyways, you are placing these birds, and then the other action you can take in the game is triggering one of those locations. And what you do is you trigger the farthest right card, and you trigger all of the abilities on your cards. So it's an engine builder as well, as you want to find some synergy with the bird cards, and be able to trigger them and continue to unlock those abilities as many times as you can and score the most points. It's a fantastic game, and in the solo version there is an automa, similar to Red Rising and in many others, where you will flip a card for the automa player and do what they say, do what the card says, and then continue on with your turn. And throughout the game they'll be blocking they'll be competing against you for the end of round bonuses, as well as other bonuses throughout the game. Coming at number 3 is TANG Garden, a 1 to 4 player tile placement game designed by Francesco Testini and Pierluca Zizi and published in 2019 by Thundergriff Games. My wife and I love TANG Garden for 2 very simple reasons. It's a tile placement game, and that's our favorite type of game, and it's a beautiful game as you play and the finished product when you're done playing. And so in TANG Garden, it's a tile placement game where you have a couple actions you can do. You are taking tiles from 4 different piles, and you'll take one and place it on the board, continuing the garden, and you'll be scoring coins, which are points in this game. Depending on if you match the sides together or complete the grass, the water, or other features on there. The other action you can do is take you can take cards from a features deck, and so many cards, and you get to pick one, and you get to add one of the 3D features onto the board, onto a tile. And these features are like gazebos and bridges, and there are trees, 6 or 7 different types of trees, and then there's fish tokens and bird tokens and other things, flowers that you can place on there. And additionally, you also have people. There are little miniature people of there's like different types of people in the game that you can acquire throughout the game, and as you place them into the garden, you want them to face a certain way so that they can see the landscape ahead of them, and you'll be scoring points based on what they're able to see in front of them. And it's just a fantastic game, and the solo version is actually quite difficult. In the solo version, you are trying to play the game all the way through. So during the game, if you cannot, so basically you continue to play by taking a tile, placing a feature, and if you can't do both, when you lay out the feature cards around on each of the stacks, if you can't place the tile and play the feature anywhere on the board, you lose. And so the goal of the solo version is to continue playing until you have played, I believe, all the tiles. And it's quite a difficult game. It's very thinky in the solo version, but fun, easy to reset up and play again, and that is TANG Garden. Coming in at number 2 is Viticulture Tuscany, a 1 to 6 player worker placement game designed by Jamie Stegmaier and Alan Stone and published in 2016 by Stonemaier Games. Oh, Viticulture Tuscany is just a fantastic worker placement game about making wine. And the board is just beautiful, and you go through different seasons. You have your hand of cards, and you're trying to fulfill wine orders. And you go through by collecting grapes, opening more land for you to place your or more vineyards to place your grapes, collecting the grapes, which are little see-through tokens. I'm not sure what they're called, and then finding ways to make those into wine and storing them in your cellars, and then you sell them off. And so you continue to go through each season, and I believe there's 6 or 7 rounds, and whoever has the most points wins. And what's beautiful about the Tuscany expansion, or I'm sorry, the Tuscany version, is that there is an area majority section of the map of the board that allows you to other actions that you can take to place your stars up there. To what you're basically doing is sending out orders to other regions, and you're trying to collect, or you're trying to have more stars in different regions to collect those points and gain those benefits. And the solo version is, I think, pretty difficult. You're playing against an automa that you'll be turning cards over, and they'll be telling you if you're in this season, you place it here, and if you can't do that, go on to the next one. If you're in a different, if you're in this season, do this one. And they're just the automa is trying to block spaces, and you're trying to work around them. In the 6 or 7 rounds of the game, you are simply trying to score, I believe in Tuscany it's 25 points. And if you can reach 25 or more, you win. And it's a fantastic solo play, even also fantastic multiplayer game. And we finally made it to my number 1 top board game solo mode, and that is Architects of the West Kingdom, a 1 to 5 player worker placement game designed by S.J. McDonald and Shem Phillips and published in 2018 by Garphill Games. I love the entire West Kingdom series. The reason Architects of the West Kingdom comes in at number 1 is, one, it's the lightest of the three in the series. I think Viscounts being a little heavier, and then Paladins being the heaviest. So Architects is a lot easier to get onto the table more often, and the solo mode simply plays very similarly to a multiplayer game. So in Architects of the West Kingdom, you have your whole board, and you are placing workers onto the board and collecting those resources, and those workers will stay there. And so as you continue to place more workers in similar spots, the resources that you gain increase. And throughout the game, in the multiplayer game, you have the option of taking workers from other opponents and capturing them, and then you can choose to send them to the jail, whichever. And what you're trying to do is you're collecting cards, you're collecting resources to build different buildings in the city, and you're also completing the cathedral at the top of the board, and that's kind of the timer in the game. There's also a really neat mechanism of a black market and different things on the board that you can do that are more frowned upon, but they give you more coin and other resources, but you may get dinged later on in the game. And so you have a virtue track also that depending on how high or low you are in the virtue track, you may not have access to certain things on the board, depending on how bad or good you are. And the solo mode, simply the automa will have cards that you flip, and it'll tell you what to do, where they want to place first, and if that's taken or not available, they'll just keep going down the list. And there are 2 versions in the original Architects game, and you can flip one over, and it's really just scoring, depending on how many people they have in the timer of the game, and they'll be scoring for that, how many people they have, like 1-3 points each, in addition to the marble and the gold that they acquire during their turns, and that's how they keep track of their scores. And so again, it's just a very fantastic game. It's easy to get to the table. It does take up a little bit of space. I find that with all the West Kingdom games, but it plays the solo mode plays very true to the multiplayer game. Thank you for joining me for my top 50 board games with solo modes. If you watched all the videos, thank you very much, and I hope I have inspired you to check out some of the games on my list. Hopefully there were some maybe you haven't heard of and want to take a look at those. And I will actually be playing these games in the order from number 50 to number 1. And so please keep a lookout for those as I go through the games and do my playthroughs of the games that have been on this list. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you at the table for my next playthrough.